Hey everyone, this is D, Movie Man, fellow cinephile, popcorn addict, and emerging film critic, coming to you with reliable recaps, reviews, and reactions. And today I'm coming to you all with another review from the Atlanta Film Festival, this time for Thelma, written and directed by Josh Margolin, and starring June Squibb, Richard Roundtree, and Fred Hechinger. Story-wise, the film is centered around the eponymous Thelma, a 93-year-old widow who, after being duped by a phone scammer, sets out on a hilariously shocking quest across the city to reclaim what is rightfully hers. So, to start with my pros, I have to say that I was so excited when this popped up at the festival. This was day 2, of course. And this was something that also was featured back in January at the Sundance Film Festival, which I was very excited to see. But, you know, the badge experience was not available for me then. You know, the thing is, everything fills up so quickly, and the experience of that is a lot. So it wasn't one I was able to see. It wasn't available online. None of that. So I was kind of like, okay, when it comes out, it comes out. So then realizing that Thelma was going to be premiering at the Atlanta Film Festival, I was like, yes, my chance. It is here once again. Now, first things first, I have to give kudos to Josh Margolin, who, as I said, is the writer and director and also editor of this film. And this is actually his feature directorial debut, which, as you know, I'm always excited for around here. New voices, new people bringing across their stories and, you know, just bringing them to the world. So I think that in itself was exciting. But what I loved about his direction of this film is just that it was so quirky, it was hilarious, and of course, along with the story, it made just for a delightful experience overall. It was just something that was, you know, feel good and fun and entertaining. And, you know, I'm already someone who enjoys a quest, enjoys a journey. And then the fact that this is centered around someone who is 93 and the actual actress, June Squibb, is 94. I love the fact that, considering how Hollywood can often Hollywood, and I've said that before, we don't always get these stories that are centered around people who are not young or are not in certain stages of your life. And if we do get them, we've gotten some, but a lot of times they're few and far between. So I liked that along with this quest for Thelma to reclaim what is hers. I liked that the film really delved into the reality to be older, to be an elder, and what that can mean in the world. It's not easy. And I know for me, I have always had a reverence and respect for my elders because of my grandparents. And I will be honest, I don't cry easily. I think because I had a lot of reasons to cry when I was younger. I think as I've gotten older, it's kind of like, okay, it has to be very specific. And even then, it's not like there are layers to the emotion. So ironically enough, although this was not a tragic film, I found myself really getting emotional in a lot of these scenes because it was like, man, what would it mean to have this kind of journey with my own grandmother or one of my own grandfathers, you know, and just understanding how impactful it is to have elders in your life, to have people who have seen the world shift in so many significant ways. They just have this specific way of seeing the world and seeing life that just cannot compare to anyone else. And I feel like that is such a blessing. And that's why also I'm not here for ageism. Whenever I hear that stuff, we're not going to be cool. If you're an ageist person, you can go ahead and get up out of here, because to grow old and to have wisdom and to have experience in life, that is the greatest blessing. Yes, it's not great to get old physically and not have mobility, but to still be here and to then impart that wisdom, those experiences to your children and to your grandchildren and, God willing, your great-grandchildren, you know, that is such a blessing. And I found myself like really feeling that, you know, as much as the film was quirky and hilarious and all of that, there was something very significant and poignant about the reality of elders. And to know that in a stage of your life that seems like, what's the point? There's nothing to expect anymore. There might not be anything to really hope for anymore. This film is an example and is a reminder that you can still live a happy, fulfilled life. There can still be surprises. There can still be things to hope for and believe in. And I found that it really hit hard for me in that front. And as someone who has unfortunately recently lost their last grandparent, it makes it all the more significant to be reminded of that, to know that, man, that is something to be treasured, that is something to be valued. And for those who still have elders in your life, continue to treasure them, continue to love them, and just know that their presence on this earth still means so much. So, yes. So from that standpoint, story-wise, I love that alongside this quest, to find and discover the scammer and deal with this whole scam situation, there was something so touching and beautiful about the reality of old age, and even alongside the tragedy and the frustrations of old age and the perils and the dangers, there's still something so gratifying and beautiful, and there's so much to be appreciated about that. And that was something that definitely, although I wasn't expecting it, it absolutely touched me. As I have said it time and time again, I enjoy an all-star cast. I enjoy watching a film where there are multiple actors and actresses that I am familiar with. And in this film, we have June Squibb, we have Richard Roundtree, we have Parker Posey, we have Fred Hechinger, we have Nicole Byer, and Malcolm McDowell. And I loved it. I loved that so much. June Squibb in particular, she's so great. She's so great. I was already a fan of hers because of her role on Good Girls. And I was so shocked to discover that one of her earliest roles is in the film The Age of Innocence, directed by Martin Scorsese, which happens to be definitely up there as one of my favorite period dramas. So I was like, are you serious? That's so wild. And again, I've said that before as well, but I love discovering the filmographies and the history and the backstories of these actors. And so it was also wild discovering that June Squibb's career didn't start until she was like in her 60s in 1990. And so for her to still be doing this at 94 years old, mind you, this is after she received an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress for her performance in the film Nebraska at 84 years old. And this is now her first time leading a film at 94. To act in a film like this, and and she gives everything you would expect and so much more in that role. She was touching, she was hilarious, she was great. And again, just how awesome is it to have a 94-year-old actor in this role and to have stories centered around people like this, elders like this. I loved it so much. And then, of course, I also have to give kudos to Richard Roundtree. Unfortunately, now the late and great Richard Roundtree. That also added to the emotion a little bit because Richard Roundtree looks a lot like my grandpa, which was my dad's stepdad. I had 3 grandfathers. Outside of that, I always thought Richard Roundtree was such a great actor. Just always had presence, always brought something to any film I watched him in. Of course, many of us will know him as the eponymous Shaft, who dominated the 70s. But even outside of that, his career has been going for well over 50 years. And man, it was so special to see him in this, especially knowing that this is his final film role. So, yes, but he was great. He was a great lead. I didn't realize that he was a part of this film, and I also didn't realize that he had such a significant part as well. So, seeing him buddy up with Thelma as they attempt to figure out this situation and make the most of it and put it all together, I loved it. And I'm so glad that with his final film role, he was able to act in this and just show still his impact as an actor at 81 years old. He will absolutely, absolutely be missed. All right, as far as the cons, the only real con that I would say is just that the film is comedic and it does a good job of balancing the humor to an extent, but I would say that there are times where there are opportunities to lean more into the seriousness, like I said, of what it means to be an elder and the dangers of that and how that can go. And I feel like there were times where some of the comedy took so much precedence that it almost wasn't room to really sit in the seriousness of some of those moments. And I felt like we could have had a little bit more of that. Not a whole lot, but just enough to really understand, like, hey, there are stakes here. And I think there are moments where it does that in a subtle manner, where it highlights that, but I wish it could have taken more opportunities to really understand, like, man, the way that elders and elderly people can be affected and the things that they have to go through and deal with in life. I just wish there was also a little more room to also highlight the reality of that along with the comedy. So I'm going to give Thelma a B+. Again, considering this is one I wanted to see at Sundance and couldn't, the fact that this circled around and I was able to see it was perfect. That was perfect in and of itself. But I love the fact that this film managed to be wholesome, touching, poignant, gave me a little something I wasn't expecting, but also, again, even with its comedy and all the things that probably don't take itself quite as seriously, it also manages to highlight, again, the importance of elders in the world, in the community, and in all their quirkiness and all the things that we think of when we think of our grandparents. I appreciate this film for highlighting that and, again, showing that, hey, no matter your age, you still got it, right? You're still kicking. You can still get out here and take charge of your life, make changes, fight back against time. And I just thought that in and of itself was such a beautiful message, alongside the action and comedy and so much more. And I am so thankful, again, to see these kinds of stories being told as a result of Sundance, also the Atlanta Film Festival, and just to know that, again, storytelling is not always limited to big budget mainstream narratives. I'm not mad at it, but there's more out there. And I love that with this channel, with these festivals, we can continue to be in a position to highlight that, to let people know, like, hey, there's a lot more out there. Just all you have to do is go look for it, all you have to do is support, and we can continue to get the ball rolling. So, yes, I am so thankful to have seen this film. And, of course, there are more I have to cover on my Atlanta Film Festival experience. But as for Thelma, yes, I really, really appreciated this one. Thelma will be premiering in theaters June 21st. You guys feel free to check it out. Leave your thoughts below and let me know what you think. So, once again, this is D Movie Man, signing off, and I'll see you at the movies.